arriving. Ray Troll is an artist who works in Alaska, and most of his work is based on biology, both recent biology and ancient biology, like fossils. He's very proud to have two species named after him. One of a living species, which is a chimera, so it's, but the name of the genus is not chimera like the one we have in the Mediterranean, but is
Hydrolagus trolli.
Well,
Hydrolagus.
Yes. Hydrolag, we would say Hydrolagus, trolli, but in English it's like that. And then he has a fossil anchovy. Anchovies are clupeids. So in his artwork, he likes puns very much. So instead of having mea culpa, it's mea clupea, because they are clupeids. So usually these things are made in English, but he does them also in Latin, as you can see here. We invited him to give a presentation about his artwork, also because we are planning to have a museum, the Dohrn Museum, and in this Dohrn Museum there will be also artwork. So we wanted to have, and we are having, and will have for the next days, exchanges of ideas, impressions, advice, or whatever from Ray about how to convey the message that the museum will have to convey. Also using art as a way of explaining things, which is what he's doing throughout all his life. For instance, I have this. This is about salmons. Salmons go upstream and then they spawn and then they die. So it's spawn till you die. Okay? He is also a musician, and so he makes songs on these things, and one is Spawn Till You Die. Okay? And there are several. So when we will inaugurate the museum, of course, there will be also a concert in the hall, okay, because, of course, it is, yes, an important thing. And I hope also that we will be able to afford some of his artwork, original artwork, to show in our museum. So now that people are arriving, it's time to have Ray. He can speak for a very long time without annoying people, but I told him that then people have to go to eat, and so he will speak for 40 minutes. So the floor is yours, Ray.
Thank you, Nando.
And you want to pass in front? Okay. If you speak in a loud voice, they will hear you.
Yeah,
but
I
if
don't
you want to use the microphone.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for for coming today, and it's a great honor to be here. It's a very great honor. My wife Michelle is down front here, and she didn't want to sit up there. But anyways, thank you for having me. Nando and I have exchanged emails for maybe 20 years, something like that. And we only finally met this last week, and so it's a real treat to finally meet this guy who's been very inspirational to me. And it's remarkable. It's a bit unreal that I find myself coming all the way from Alaska to be here in beautiful Naples, but I have to pinch myself to see if I'm dreaming. But I'm going to talk today, fish worship, is it wrong? Or how I became a scientific surrealist. So I do have an artistic license, so that I issued to myself. This is a joke. I'll try to indicate jokes, see if they translate at all. But so Raymond Ratfish Troll, and I do identify myself as a scientific surrealist. And what is scientific surrealism? This is a description of my work that I did not come up with, but some a scientist friend once upon a time described my work that way, and I went, aha, that's what I do. I guess that's what I do. And of course, I'm inspired by surrealistic art. So this is De Chirico, of course. You guys are familiar with De Chirico. But this is the mystery and melancholy of a street, famous painting. And this is the mystery and melancholy of a salmon standing by the seashore. So I like to incorporate dreamlike images to convey scientific principles or just to have fun. I love surrealistic humor, like Monty Python, characters like that, the Dadaists that use this absurd humor. I love absurd humor. But also just following my intuitions and my gut responses. Rapture of the Deep, it's got a nice jellyfish up there. I'll put that in there for Nando, the jellyfish up there.
Sure.
But here's a drawing of anchovies, and you will note the pizza right there. Slice of pizza with the anchovies. And this is a drawing of saber-tooth everything. I do a lot of work with this fellow right here. His name is Kirk Johnson. He is now at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. I've known Kirk for 20 years, and we've collaborated on 2 books. And he once described a dream that he had when he was in the Amazon about saber teeth, large teeth, saber-tooth everything. He woke up from this dream and everything had saber teeth. And he just mentioned this image to me, and so I had to draw it. And it appeared in our book. It's just called Saber-tooth Everything. But I began with the concept of anything that had large saber teeth in it. So also from these experiences I've had out in the world, I've also done these large paintings. This is a large mural of Amazonian fishes. And it took me about a year to paint this. It's about the size of this wall back here. So it's it's actually about almost 5 meters across. So I spent almost a year painting. There's little things in it that are kind of fun, but also at the same time, when I was in the Amazon, I listened to the local stories. And so I love the stories inspired me. And there were lots of stories about the enchanted land below the river. So simultaneously, when I do a scientific kind of painting, I just keep I want to depict biodiversity. So one of the best ways to depict biodiversity is just to paint everything, overwhelmed. But also, at the same time, the folklore, the stories of the magical dolphins that transform into humans, and the magic dances that happen along the Amazon River. I found this tremendously inspiring for my work. But also, I live in Southeast Alaska. Michelle and I have lived there for 35 years, 36 years now. And I'm tremendously inspired by the Alaskan landscape. And I'm very involved in fisheries issues. But also, this is, I think, a prime example of scientific surrealism, in that it's an unreal, gravity doesn't apply, the fish are now swimming into the forest. But why is that? This is a large oil painting. It's about 14 feet across, about 5 meters across, almost. And the fish are swimming into the forest, but actually back here you can see fish are swimming up into the trees. And the isotopes of the fish, the nitrogen from the fish that come in from the ocean, they bring that into the forest. And there has been co-evolution. The fish have evolved with the forest. They are anadromous fishes. So this is at the University of Alaska in Juneau. But also this literally shows you the fish are inside the trees. So another drawing conveying that image. This is an image. Is it? Would it be, can we bring the lights down a little bit? Is that too much to?
I don't know.
Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe everybody will fall asleep then.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. Everybody, all right, you can see this okay? But this shows the salmon life cycle. If you look here, in one of these rings, let's see, the fish are born here, and you can see them as I go around. They come from the eggs, and then in the smolt and the fry phase, and then they go out to the ocean, and then they come back to the rivers, they begin to turn colors, they spawn, and then they die. And then it goes around and around and around and around and around and around. And we have an animated version of that. But this is also a case of scientific surrealism here, where the ammonites are spiraling above the bed, and the wife is sort of annoyed. She's kind of angry there. Excuse me. Oh, now we're asleep. Maybe is that a little bit too much? That's a little bit too much.
Too much. Okay.
There, that helps.
No.
Now we'll all fall asleep.
I like this one.
This guy likes this one a lot.
Well, no.
You gonna turn the lights back on now?
Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Well, that's bright. So we'll get used to it. Anyways, so scientific surrealism also in depicting things like this, the origin of the Ammonites. This one here previously, there's a certain guy that owns the original of this that I know. And this is the artist here. There's his favorite meal, the American cheeseburger right there. But this is sleeping with the ichthyosaurs. But the word Ammonite is derived from the temple of Ammon, the Egyptian god Ammon, and is named after the spiral horns of the ram. So I've depicted it in the temple of Ammon. Once again, gravity not applying. And just to show you also, even with the children's books that I do, this is a children's shark alphabet book, Sharkabet. So I came up with sharks for every letter of the alphabet. So this is letter D for dogfish. So there's the dogfish with the dogfish sharks. Get the jokes? So why are they named dogfish? Because they do like to travel in packs. This one, oftentimes you'll hear someone say that a whale shark is as big as a school bus. So here I portrayed it as big as a school bus. The children understand that sharks can't do that, but it also gets across the concept that this is a really big shark. It's huge. So it's exciting. This is a prehistoric creature that lived during the Eocene age, and it had very, very large teeth. And at the very same time I painted this, our daughter was having her orthodontics work done on her teeth. So I thought teeth. So I will show that. Here I am fishing for a Cretaceous fish. This is a prehistoric fish called Zophacinus. So these are all surrealistic things. This is an entelodont, which is related to modern day pigs, but from the Oligocene and Miocene ages in North America. They were large predatory pigs like javelin or peccary, Gregory peccary, perhaps. But in one of my, so this is pretty straightforward, but this is hell pig. And this is also one of my beliefs that if a drawing is boring and you need to make it more exciting, add flames. Everything looks better with flames. So I have a trilobite tattoo right here, and it has flames. So if it's boring, just add flames. That makes it better. So cooler, hell pig. But this is one of my most popular images. It's been used around the world now. And I was surprised by this. To me, it was just another drawing that I did. But what I had done accidentally, without really intending to do, is I injected a little bit of humor. And I injected a little bit more, a little cartoon, but there's a little bit of humor that these guys are way up here, they're pointing down. There's a little dog, there's a jackalope right there, which is a mythical creature. But here's Kirk and I up there and our favorite non-existent dog. But what I had done was simply just put the large fossils so you could see them easily, but also very clearly put the ages there so you could see them. And I also wrote a song that went along this to teach the geologic ages. But this image is now used over and over and over in PowerPoints and in museums around the world. And this is a more recent one, and now includes the Anthropocene up here. But this reminds me of the Amalfi Coast in a way, you know. driving down to Positano. It's just a beautiful, and those are actually, what are the ages of those cliffs? Are those Cretaceous rocks down that way, down the coast?
They are Jurassic.
Jurassic?
Yeah.
Wow. Just
That's
incredible, incredible.
Cretaceous stuff.
And Cretaceous up above. Just so inspirational. I absolutely love it. But also, out of curiosity, I'm just curious about things, and it's my natural curiosity. I follow my curiosity. As scientists, you also follow your curiosity. So curiosity-based research, that is a wonderful thing that scientists are able to do, but I also feel that artists do the same thing. If I'm curious about something, I'm passionate about it. I saw this rock, and I became passionate about it because it was a mystery. And I saw this rock, it was about this big, in 1992. I didn't understand what it was. I was on a tour with one of my colleagues, and we were working on a book, and I thought it was an ammonite, a mollusk. And they said, no, it's not a mollusk. Those are shark teeth. And I said, what? Shark teeth? How does that work? And they said, it's been known about for over 100 years, and nobody's ever figured it out. Nobody's ever understood where it went on the shark. This is all we have of the shark. But I was intrigued, and I wasn't going to let it go. So I kept looking at these beautiful fossils, and I found more. Helicoprion is the name of the fossil. It's a Permian age shark. So Permian age Chondrichthyon. And these are teeth. They spiral inward. But as I studied this more and more, I realized I was becoming a bit of a scientist too, but I was just really an artist that was intrigued by this. But I kept looking at this shark, and the spiral teeth actually goes in the lower jaw. But this drawing shows every incorrect version ever conceived of with this shark. If you look at it here, so I did this drawing, shows that first when in 1899, this is one of the first, there was a Russian scientist who thought it went on the nose. He also later revised his thinking to think perhaps it was on the dorsal fin. And here's an earlier drawing of his. Here's a more recent drawings here. I first thought it went like this, it went out like that, and then this is a friend who thought maybe it was a pizza cutter. It would look very good. Maybe in Napoli, it would be very nice to have the, so, I'm sorry, I thought it was funny too. Anyways, my curiosity helped solve the mystery, because in 2013, I had gathered up my enthusiasm with some scientists. We found the fossil that showed, without a doubt, with CT scanning, that the jaw, the spiral teeth is in the lower jaw of this, and it's almost is like a pizza cutter. You slice, and there are no teeth up here. They're flat teeth. They're not sharp teeth, but it's used for slicing. And so here's another surreal concept in the exhibit that's based on this. We have a life-size sculpture. It has a massive head, and it's bursting through a wall in a surreal, dreamlike fashion. And now the story changes, and I'm going to tell you my life story. I'm that kid right there. So this is in 1964. I'm 10 years old. Our father was in the Air Force. That's my father right there. In World War II, he flew in B-29s over Japan. And of these 6 kids right here, 4 of us ended up moving to Alaska. So I moved all the time. Always moving, always moving. But as a child, I lived in Japan, but also lived in Puerto Rico. And this is where my love of fish started. And that's me right there. Hippie. I was a hippie. So the 60s were good to me. And this is me in college right there, the 70s. Very shy guy. Very shy. And then I went to graduate school, earned my Master of Fine Arts degree, and these are my professors. And we started a band. So I always like to be in bands. And then I got my degree right there. And I moved to Alaska with my art degree. So, please, there's a seat if you want to sit down. But this is the town where Michelle and I live. We live in Ketchikan, Alaska. There's 13,000 people there. And it rains a lot. But we had moved to a community, it was a fishing community basically, a lot of tourism, but a lot of fishing that goes on there. And I also worked in the canneries, and I began to catch a lot of fish. And I wanted to know more about these fish. And I was also, when I first caught the fish, I was very proud. And I looked like Hemingway right here. And I'm squinting into the sun. I'm looking very good. I'm looking a little bit like Anthony right there, aren't I? Huh?
Anthony Morato.
Anthony Morato. They don't get the joke.
No. There are posters of Anthony Morato all over Naples with sunglasses. So he would like to be like Anthony
I want to
Morato.
be like him. I'm the new Anthony. So I'm looking like Anthony Morato here, squinting to, I just need the sunglasses, and then it'll be perfect. But I was very proud, I was very happy, and I was very proud that village will be fed tonight, and I killed a snapper. But I was also raised Catholic, so I suffered a lot. And I felt guilty about many things I didn't understand. But sometimes late at night, the spirits of all the fish I've ever caught come back to haunt me. Why did you kill me? And I began to do t-shirts with these things. It's becoming a fish head. And I fell in love with fish. And perhaps maybe too much. So I did t-shirts like this. So, and this. This is a drawing. It's not a t-shirt, of course. But I soon found I was doing drawings and paintings, and this is a about 4 meters long painting of salmon going up the stream, and I have no beard there. Strange. And started doing large charcoal type of drawings, and there's Michelle right there, and some of my band members. And there I am, drawing that drawing. Here I have a glorious mustache, very glorious, excuse me. But I began to do these t-shirts, I printed t-shirts. So, you don't see it so much in Europe, but you know, you see them on the streets, but
Not yet.
not yet. Maybe we could change that, but I began to print these t-shirts and they became very popular with the fishermen and with tourists and with scientists. And we began to do a fashion line. So there's Michelle, and I began to have my friends pose like supermodels, like Anthony, trying to look good. And but I was very inspired by the natural world, and especially the spawning of the salmon, because it's almost this mysterious transformation that happens. They're beautiful creatures, and then as they come into the fresh water, they lose their flesh, they grow large teeth, they change colors, and it's all about sex and death. These are great themes. And I did this t-shirt that Nando is wearing today, Spawn Till You Die. And it hit the culture at the right spot. So here we have Motley Crue. There he is wearing that. So he's got the t-shirt on. That's this is Charlie Musselwhite's very famous blues harmonica player. I don't know, Nando, if you know Charlie Musselwhite stuff, but there he is. This is a totem pole carver friend of mine. His name is Tommy Joseph. He's Alaska Native American Indian, but he's at the White House, and Laura Bush is on the other side of the tree. So he is representing me right there. That's very good. And in the movie Superbad, there's Spawn Till You Die. Shows up there. And this is in Uganda. So this is on Netflix. Well, it's on one of my Facebook friends pointed this out to me, and this is in a Ugandan action film. And I thought, that's incredible. My artwork is showing up in Africa now, The Return of Uncle Bennet. And look at this incredible, that is placement in a great movie in Uganda. That is production, that is quite the promotion. And I thought that it could not get much better than that. So then one of my friends showed me this. That's Daniel Radcliffe. That's Harry Potter. Just say thank you. So this t-shirt has been very good to me, and it keeps going well. And here are some other t-shirts. This one, I like my coffee very strong. And Cafe Freddo is now my new favorite. I love that, just had some. But I want to have coffee that is served in bed will raise the dead, especially after a night of drinking too much wine. And here are some examples of some of the t-shirts. Now the fish are fishing. The Hells Angels did not like this t-shirt. They are a biker group, and so I had to, they let me know they did not like Hells Anglers. The Hells Angels did not approve. So I had to change. Fish hard, die rich. Die free, I mean. And here's one where James Dean, rebel without a cod, bacalao. And
rebel without a cause.
Yes. These are the puns. I don't know if you explained some of these. So James Dean's did not approve, the state did not approve, so I had to change that. There's James Dean still down there, though. He's still in the water. There is no free lunch. This is a seal of approval. It's a phrase in English. So whenever I'm feeling depressed, super fine. I thought this would be a very popular t-shirt, but apparently not enough people like Frank Zappa. It's a very sad case. Nando and I are trying to change that. This was not a very popular idea either. Did not sell well. It was terrible. This one also was not. This is a tortured soul. Life is good, death is not bad. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Oh, you like that? We'll take that one back. So yes, that's right, ladies. Men, you need to pay attention. We're not that important. And this is the last great adventure, Alaska snack time. The family that prays together stays together. That's a phrase. So can you explain the difference there?
Pray can mean pregare or predare. It's the same word.
All right, so
they pray together.
They pray together. So here is a terrible bear attack that happened at an art opening. Doesn't happen like that in Alaska, but in my fantasies. But as scientists, I began to realize too, I make fun, I have jokes, but I also like to teach. And I began to wonder if people knew what bears were related to. What is the evolutionary link? What is the closest relative of bears? And I was asked once to speak at a bear conference with a bear biologist. And I just thought, well, I know a little bit about the evolution of bears. Let's ask 100 people what they are related to. And these are Americans. I don't know what the European response would be, but 25% said dogs and wolves. 15% said humans, apes, or monkeys. This is what they thought they were related to. 8% said cats. 7% said pigs. But the answer, because you're scientists and you know this, are the pinnipeds. Seals and sea lions and seals. So I was surprised that few people knew. I mean, only 3% knew that that was the relationship. We should not call them sea lions, we should call them sea bears. They're aquatic bears, the bears with fins, basically. But people don't understand these evolutionary relationships. But if you run into a bear on an Alaskan trail, and you think it's going to behave like a pig, or a human, you're mistaken. You should know, the relationships of these things. We should know where we come from, what we are. And now I'll change the topic. There's the stream. You may be familiar with that piece of artwork. The Da Vinci Cod. It's a Da Vinci Code, the cod. If you must smoke, please smoke salmon. Blues in the key of C, S-E-A. Pulp fishing. Kawasaki. Salmon. Sorry. Return of the Sakai. Instead of Return of the Jedi, Sakai. So these are Alaskan jokes. Psychedelic, psychedelic. I play with words. So psychedelic. But this is also, I do these mandalas. But this is also something. This piece of artwork is actually at the the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. I did the artwork. It's in the Ocean Hall, and it shows the salmon life cycle. And this is a drawing I did for the United States government on sustainable fishing. Sustainability, it's in our hands, and that was the message they wanted to convey. This is a large mural project that I did also for the United States government for the NOAA group, and this is in Pacific Grove, and it shows the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, and it goes around the entire building. And this was applied to the building. So I don't know, maybe this is something that might be considered similar, that might be able to be used here. And those were hand painted. And this is a hand painted bus in Ketchikan. And I worked with my colleague Guillermo. Guillermo and I painted that, and I'm the very sad looking old man. But Memo and I painted that. Once again, as I said, it looks better with flames. So there's a halibut on top with flames. And then when you hit the brakes, the eyes light up. But it's a hand-painted bus. It's not digital. It's not wrapped. It's hand-painted. So I think that people can tell the reality of paint, the effort that it takes to do hand-painted rather than digital reproductions. We have many sleazy bars in Alaska, but we call them dive bars. So in my art, there's a diver in there, a dive bar. With apologies to Giuseppe Arcimboldo. This is a famous Italian painter as well, but I don't know if you've seen this one, Nando. Fishhead, Arcimboldo. My version of Arcimboldo.
Arcimboldo.
Arcimboldo. All right.
Got it.
Oh, yeah. This is octopus. And here's a large mural I did for the University of Washington. And you know the idea where the clouds are the ocean? So if you look up here, you see they're in the shape of fishes. Some of them are transforming into fishes. But that's the city of Seattle back there, and this is at the University of Washington. And this is one of the books that I did with Dr. Kirk Johnson, Cruising the Fossil Freeway, and this is Kirk. Kirk and I have known each other for 20 years. This is taken about 15 years ago at his wedding, so there we are, we're joined by the brain. But he's a paleobotanist, and as I said, he is now the director of the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, and that's unreal to me as well. And he's a remarkable scientist, and there he is, the scientist. And this is his life story in 7 words. Coastal creationist kid finds rocks in evolution. He was brought up as a Christian fundamentalist that did not believe in evolution. That was the family that he was brought up in. This is my life story in 7 words. Kansas hippie paints fish in the rain, the artist. But together we've traveled nearly a year together. We added it all up. This is a fossil map I did of Alaska and the Yukon. But there's an exhibit based on our latest book that's traveling around. Once again, there's kind of this surreal thing where the large sculpture is bursting out of the wall. This catches people's attention. This is at the Anchorage Museum of History and Art. You see the large text panels back here, the strong dramatic lighting. There's small fossils up there. This actually is digital, but this is wallpaper design with ammonites, but I do these repeat designs and ammonites, and there's a trilobite couch, and here's the film and fossils, different ways to do displays. There I am on the trilobite couch, and love doing these patterns. Here's the whale family tree. I've done a number of these evolutionary trees. The closest group to whales that are still on land are the hippopotamus. They split from the hippopotamus. So now I look at whales differently. I think about the link to hippopotamus. But of course also in the great tree of life, it's been a great symbol that's been used over the many centuries, well, a couple centuries now, since Charles Darwin started drawing out some of the first rudimentary evolutionary trees. Darwin scribbled out the first very small kind of cladogram tree. There's been many versions of it done. Haeckel did versions of this. This is my latest version. And as Nando points out, we've had many discussions over breakfast and over wine and pizza over the last few days here about all these different relationships and where the branches are and the exact placement of the branches. But it's still, I learn a lot as I work with scientists on these trees. And I, of course, am fascinated by things like, the closest group to the vertebrates are the echinoderms, and that we are the wayward spawn of tunicates, and that really vertebrates are variations on fish. And as you split off the vertebrates, actually the lancelets and the amphioxus comes before the tunicate split. And as we go up the vertebrate tree here, the lobe-finned fishes split off, and the ray-finned fishes go up here, and the sharks go up here. But the lobe-finned fishes go up this way, and then we have amphibians, and then marsupials, mammals, reptiles go this way. And I began to wonder too, as I was drawing this tree, wait a minute, what is the closest group to primates? We are primates, everyone knows that, but what is the closest group to primates? And it's a strange little group, and this is some of the latest genomic testing, shows that it is a very curious animal called a colugo. And very few people know about colugos. But colugos are called flying lemurs, but that's the closest. They are not actually truly primates, but they're the sister group to primates. So these are our primate cousins. And they're found in the forests of Indonesia, and they fly through the trees like that. And I love the name colugo. It sounds like a song to me, or a dance, to do the colugo. And so I'm fascinated by these. I just follow my weird curiosity wherever it goes. But now I can't help but look at a colugo and then look at this and go, wait a minute. Colugo, look at that guy. I want to be that guy. He looks like Anthony, too.
Anthony Morato.
Anthony Morato. Anyways, with that, I think that I have talked long enough and I hit my mark. Thank you for listening.
So, are there any questions, curiosities, remarks, autographs that you want to?
That went all over the map, but yes, there must be some.
The president arrived.
Uh-oh.
Watch out.
Thanks a lot. Unfortunately, I read a little bit.
E vieni qua, dai.
Very, very fascinating. Do you have any project right now?
Well, there's this. No, actually, no big projects right now. I just finished a major book with the Smithsonian director, and that exhibit is traveling around, and I just turned 65 years old, and I'm having fun in Italy, and that's my project right now. But I have not.
You were looking for.
Yeah, and I'm having fun here in Italy. Yes.
I have a question. I saw all your artwork that you did on the buses and stuff. What is the driver for the different commitments that ask you? Why do they ask you to paint a bus? Is there a common path across all the commitment, or is just, you meet people, they are fascinated, they want to make other people happy, and they ask you to do this and that, and to paint for the NOAA building?
Well, that's a good question. How does this happen? How do these things come to be?
Yeah.
They approach me? Do I approach them? Many times, actually, I get asked to do things, but in this strange path that I've carved out, I don't know that anyone else can follow the same path I did, but I hope to inspire other artists to do that. But basically, the T-shirts began to be out there and seen, but I was also simultaneously doing books. So I have done 10 books. And those are collaboration with scientists and many exhibits that travel around. So my reputation began to be known. Nando's found out about me, and you can. So yeah, and I live in a small town in Ketchikan, only 13,000 people, and they had these buses. So just to answer your question about the buses, it's like, Ray Troll has been making a famous name around the world. We should have him work on a bus. But with the NOAA building, there was a scientist actually who worked for NOAA, and there was this big building that was just in the middle of Monterey, and it looked very out of place. And she said, "I need to have Ray Troll do this." So she promoted the idea.
So it wasn't just to kind of make more people more aware about, you know, nature and environment. It's more for the beauty, you would say.
It was, but also I met with the scientists who worked there, and so there was actually a very elaborate scientific concept behind that building.
Okay.
So I met with the scientists, we went back and forth, and then I brought in other colleagues to help me paint it. So yes.
Ray, do you have the artwork you did for the Monterey Bay Aquarium with the jellyfish flying over the Monterey Bay Aquarium?
I do, yeah. I'd have to look for it. It would take a little bit, but it is a combination too of being asked, but also I compete and I apply for things too. So.
Do you have any? First of all, thank you for the talk. Do you have any exhibitions coming up in Europe that we can go see this stuff?
I do not have any exhibits coming up in Europe. I've only had one. I've had an Amazon exhibit that was in London once, but I've always wanted to have another one here. I've tried to bring my shark exhibit over here a few times. There's been interest in Paris, but it hasn't happened yet. So,
another question there.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
Just a question. I saw some of your paintings. Everything is beautiful. Thank you very much. And fun as well, as you said. Really. How much psychedelics did the influence, if any? Oh, this is a little dirty secret, but I think there is something there.
How much psychedelic influence is there? Well, that's why I show the picture. I am proud of my hippie heritage. I think the hippie movement, the free love, it was rock and roll is very important to me, and the message from the 60s, I absorbed it greatly. I loved psychedelic art. Yes, I will confess, I did psychedelics in my youth. And it does alter your perception.
Chemical amusement.
I did chemical amusement, yes. Okay. The Doors of Perception, man. I was into that stuff, yeah. But
you don't need it anymore.
But I don't need it anymore. I learned from it. I'm inspired by it, but no, I don't. Wine is my new weakness. And
Natural drink.
Yeah, yes. So maybe, and cheeseburger. No, actually, pizza. Cheeseburgers, nah.
No, bad for you. He wanted to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry, where?
Actually, I was going to ask exactly the same question. How did psychedelic art, I think about the art used in the music industry on the West Coast, influenced me, but you got already the same question. So I had the second question. It's about the art, so from the Japan manga. I remember there is a movie from Hayao Miyazaki where they show some story of fish, some extinct fish that actually very, very similar to yours. The one
Yes,
that,
Miyazaki, yes.
If you are aware of this.
Sure.
Ponyo, I think is Ponyo, I think is that film. Miyazaki, actually, in one of the director left, but actually there is a movie project I'm working on where we hope to animate some of my work, and Studio Ghibli with Miyazaki is certainly a huge inspiration, and I would love to see my art move, and so we'll see if that happens, but knock on wood.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One was inspired by what Paolo told you. The first one is, have you ever met some street artists? Because street art is at least small, as far as I know, movement working on this kind of science, especially in the States. And the second thing is, are you a professional musician or just for fun? Because I'm also trying to make science music.
Oh, really?
But it's very difficult to find.
Let's stick around with jam.
Companies interested in
You have a guitar with you? Do you have a guitar with you?
No, I'm not a guitarist, I'm around.
Nobody has a guitar here.
I just use my voice and my abilities to write verse.
Okay, well, the first part of the question, the street artists, I absolutely love. I love street art. You know, there's a young artist that I collaborate with. The guy I painted the bust with, Memo Hadagi. He started out. He's one of those guys. He was a tagger, but he could paint incredibly. And he and I have worked on large pieces where I will chalk something out and then he'll come in with spray paint, and we could do if we were working together, he and I could do a room in maybe a couple of days because that spray paint, and it looked very dynamic, and he's a great craftsman. Street art can be really ugly, but it can also be really beautiful if you contain it and try to focus it. And I'm inspired by it. In a way, it's sort of, this is street art in a way, this is what people are walking around, and it's a challenge. This is my palette, And I've played music since I've been a teenager, and always wanted to be in a band, and I find that it's fun to be in a band. It's dynamic, but it's also a great way to get the message out to people. And my band, finally after many years, we are professional and we get paid to fly around now. Not big time, we're not Led Zeppelin. But we played in museums, and we play where there's an audience, and we usually try to do visuals, but we also go to schools, and I sing songs. We sing science songs. Mostly science, not all, but and then they want to hear cover songs, and everybody wants to get dancing and all that. But we sing about trilobites and ammonites and ages of rock and all that, and your fish, and so. Last.
Do you still eat fish?
Do I still eat fish? Yes, I do. Yes. I like to study my fish and eat my fish. Pardon me?
No nightmares?
I always have nightmares. They're very inspirational to me. I worry about everything, yes.
Most of your pictures are just realistic things, or things that border on the irrealistic, and they swim in realistic or irrealistic environments. What about purely irrealistic things, magical organisms out of the medieval beliefs, the pictures that you see in old maps of monsters of the seas, and mermaids?
I've drawn a few mermaids over the years. I like to draw real creatures mostly, and I like to work in really getting them accurate. But that said, too, there's a side of me that does indulge in some of that kind of, and I love medieval artwork, and I'm being truly inspired by seeing some of the images around here, and actually just here on the grounds.
Yeah.
There's these great fountains that nobody seems to be paying attention to. They have these fantastic beasts in them, and you walk into this building, and there's octopus on the fences, and they're just, wow, those are cool. I want that for my house. So there's I'm tremendously inspired by that. Yeah.
This is the Devonian Blues. That's him.
This is a song that I wrote about how we are fish. We wanted to end this with this. Just a little bit of it. I'm thinking about my mama, thinking about you got those Richie and Devonian Blues. I don't sing too well. My mama told me something. You people know we were all a bunch of fishes. Long time ago, so wave your fins in the air. It's plain to see you water away from the fish.
Out of the ooze we were born to prove.
Hey, yeah, your mama, how was a low-fin fish? Hey, your mama, how was a low-fin fish? Okay, that's good. So, you're low-fin fish. Anyway. I think we should maybe end on that note, huh? Oh, so good. Thank you.